This is the story of a girl who grows through learning English grammar and sharpening her analytical mind. This lesson is a follow-up to the previous one.
Next, let's talk about cases where English tends to avoid using a to infinitive as a complement.
Before we move on, can I check one thing?
Go ahead.
Could I go over the tendency to avoid to infinitives as the subject one more time?
Sure.
Basically, the subject is usually a noun, right?
That's right.
When a to infinitive is used as the subject, the reader may interpret the to at the beginning not as a nominal use, but as an adverbial one, specifically, as expressing purpose. So that's why English tends to avoid using to infinitives as subjects. Is that the right way to understand it?
Yes, exactly.
And behind that, what you call a processing orientation is at work, something that affects both readers and writers, right?
That's right.
And the reason that processing orientation arises is that to infinitives carry a future-oriented, purpose-oriented sense.
Yes, exactly.
Then why is it that decide to and want to, which also involve that future, or purpose-oriented to, aren't taken as adverbial uses, but instead as nominal ones? Does that mean that processing orientation isn't at work in these cases?
No, the processing orientation is at work here as well.
But they still don't count as adverbial uses of purpose.
Right. They don't.
Why not?
What exactly do you mean by processing orientation?
A to infinitive carries a sense of future, or purpose orientation. So it tends to be interpreted as an adverbial use of purpose.
And if you put that more generally?
When we're used to seeing a certain pattern, and something that looks similar comes up, we tend to interpret it using the familiar pattern.
Exactly. That's what a processing orientation is.
So, generally, since a to infinitive carries a future, or purpose, image, just seeing to at the beginning makes us assume it's an adverbial use of purpose.
More precisely, we tend to view a to infinitive through the lens of future, or purpose orientation, though there are exceptions.
Right. So that's why we take it as an adverbial use of purpose.
Not quite. There's a small leap in reasoning there. Having a future, or purpose-oriented sense doesn't automatically make it an adverbial use.
It doesn't.
The ideas of future-oriented and purpose-oriented are matters of cognitive interpretation, not of form. A nominal to infinitive doesn't modify another word. An adjectival to infinitive appears as a complement or modifies a noun. An adverbial to infinitive modifies a verb, an adjective, or an adverb. All of these are classifications based on how to function structurally.
I see. That makes sense.
The point is, just because a to infinitive has a future or purpose-oriented sense doesn't mean it becomes adverbial in every case.
So you mean it can still be a nominal use, like decide to or want to?
Exactly. The processing orientation associated with to infinitives isn't limited to adverbial uses. When a to infinitive appears where a subject would normally be expected, you tend to take it as an adverbial use of purpose. That's because a processing orientation tends to kick in, and you interpret it as expressing purpose. With expressions like decide to or want to, a different processing orientation is at work. We recognize that the following decide or want as a nominal use. There is yet another processing orientation that leads us to interpret the to following away as an adjectival use.
I see. So the awareness that to, with a future or purpose-oriented sense, gets channeled into different processing orientations. That is, one that treats an infinitive as adverbial. One that treats it as nominal. And one that treats it as adjectival. Is that right?
That's right.
I get it now. I used to think that avoiding infinitives as subjects was something special or exceptional. But if I think of it as just one example of a processing preference, it's really the same kind of thing as decide to or want to.
Exactly. The intuition you've arrived at here should also help you understand the two infinitives that appear as complements, which we'll look at next.
今回は前回の授業の追加版です。ここで一つ訂正があります。次回は形容詞的用法を扱いますと言いましたが、次回は保護のケースを扱います。形容詞的用法はその後です。This is a follow-up to the previous lesson. I need to make one small correction. I mentioned that the next lesson would focus on the adjectival use. But we'll actually be covering complement cases next. The adjectival use will come after that,